Child's play is a term we often hear being used to describe something that's simple or easy to accomplish. However, play has a much greater role in the development of children than many realize. The way a child plays influences how they'll interact with others and approach problems for the rest of their life. Therefore, it's important that kids feel comfortable playing in a way that works for them. However, this ends up being quite difficult for some kids because of gender-specific toys. According to an October 2021 article from The Guardian, toys that are marketed specifically for boys or for girls provide different cognitive benefits, and only exposing a child to one of these categories can significantly limit the developmental process while perpetuating harmful gender stereotypes. Today we'll explore this issue being faced by millions of children by first looking at how gender-specific toys became so popular, then looking at what this means for the development of children, before finally considering better play alternatives for the sake of kids everywhere. Before we can adequately address the issue of gender-specific toys, we need to consider how they became so ingrained in American culture. A March 2021 article from the Washington Post describes how the gendered advertisement of toys became relevant in the 1800s. Marketers at this point were just beginning to take advantage of the youth as an audience for their products, and some of them began to realize that there was an even more efficient target for their toys: older boys. These producers shifted their focus from the entire youth audience to just the portion composed of older boys. Since they'd already been exposed to the workforce, these boys were more financially independent and had already started to experience some consumer temptations. This made it less likely that the companies would be met with scorn from the parents for using their boys as a target for their products. Gender-specific toys continued to be relevant throughout the 19th and 20th centuries. According to a December 2020 article from The Conversation magazine, producers throughout the 1930s and 50s began to realize that wealthy families were willing to shell out lots of money for entire sets of toys that catered to their kids' gender. Thus, extravagant sets of dollhouses and toy trains were born. The gender divide in toys has only gotten more severe in recent years. An article from the National Association for the Education of Young Children, last accessed October 25th, 2022, describes an experiment conducted at Purdue University in which they classified 100 toys as being associated with boys, girls, or neither. When the researchers compared the toys they placed into these three categories, it became glaringly obvious that the toys that were meant for boys placed a heavy emphasis on fighting and aggression, while the girls' toys focused on one's appearance. Furthermore, the researchers ranked the toys by how beneficial they considered them to be for childhood development in physical, creative, and cognitive aspects. The toys at the top of this list were either gender neutral or moderately masculine. The results from this study, plus what we learned about how the gendered advertising of toys became so popular, leads us to one conclusion. The profit incentive led firms to adapt gendered marketing tactics that have led to the market being flooded with gender-specific toys at the expense of kids everywhere. Now, on the surface, the production of gender-specific toys may not seem like something to be super concerned about, especially when so many modern parents take advantage of the vast toy market and let their kids play with whatever they want. However, this is exactly why we must next consider how the persistence of gender-specific toys can have serious implications for child development. The way a child plays influences how they'll approach tasks for the rest of their life. According to an October 2022 article from parentingforbrain.com, play is how children learn and familiarize themselves with the world around them. Play teaches kids how to use different parts of their brain to succeed in a variety of tasks. Furthermore, according to an April 2022 article from raisingchildren.net, play is vastly important for teaching kids how to have self-confidence and have healthy interactions with others, such as when a group of kids are able to put together a puzzle. Such tasks require effective teamwork, and the kids feel proud of themselves when they succeed. However, gender-specific toys are more likely to reduce these key benefits of playing. The previously described research from Purdue University points out that restricting a child to toys that are supposed to cater to their gender actually hinders the developmental process. actually hinders the developmental process. And this isn't the only area in which gender-specific toys can negatively affect children. It can also affect them in areas such as their gender identity. Frequent exposure to gender-specific toys can make children feel pressured to express themselves in a way that's most preferable to society, rather than doing what's actually best for themselves. Furthermore, a January 2020 article from the journal, The Archaeology of Sexual Behavior, adds that most kids actually don't display a gender preference for the toys they enjoy, at least not until they've been exposed to what society thinks about gender. When a child is exposed to traditional societal stereotypes and then encouraged to play with toys that support these narratives, they get the message that we expect them to act according to these restrictive gender roles. It's common sense that this would cause immense turmoil for kids who are in the midst of determining their gender identity. And in fact, this phenomenon might be worse for boys than it is for girls. A March 2022 article from the National News describes how in a survey of 7,000 parents from 7 different countries, a whopping 54% of them said they were worried their son would be made fun of for playing with toys that were traditionally marketed for girls. On the other hand, only 24% of them said they were concerned their daughter would be made fun of for having traditionally male interests. Since these gender stereotypes follow us into adulthood, it is clear that gender-specific toys not only pose a threat to optimal childhood development, but also to adults as they struggle to conform to the deep-seated gender stereotypes in our society. We considered how gender-specific toys became the norm and what this means for both kids and adults, so now it's time to ask ourselves the critical question of what we can do about it. The obvious solution here is to buy gender-neutral toys for the kids in your life, and this makes great sense when you look at it from a developmental perspective. According to a November 2021 article from the Brookings Institute, this begins by shopping in the gender-neutral toy aisle. The article explains how legislation that was recently passed in California requires large toy stores to market a specific portion of them in a gender-neutral fashion. Furthermore, the previously mentioned article from the Washington Post in March 2021 explains that modern parents are becoming increasingly interested in buying toys for their kids that don't enforce gender stereotypes, and gender-neutral toys are a great way to avoid this. Furthermore, gender-neutral toys provide a plethora of developmental benefits. Kids practice being creative when they engage in activities such as manipulating Play-Doh or making structures out of building blocks, which are activities that children that identify with any gender can enjoy. Also, many companies have started to produce science kits that aren't targeted at a specific gender, which allow kids to have fun while learning about the world around them without being subject to these stereotypes. In addition to taking a more proactive approach with the kids in your life, you may consider only buying toys from companies like Hasbro that have made conscious efforts to reduce bias in their toys. You may also consider lobbying your local toy store for a gender-neutral section. Let's be honest, more comprehensive legislation like that passed in California would be a great solution everywhere. However, environmental and ideological changes within our own families can go a long way in explaining to children that what they play with really does matter. It's safe to say that everyone wants the best for children. However, we can't actually achieve the best for them until we stop enforcing binary gender stereotypes through gender-specific toys. Today, we explored how gender-specific toys became the norm, as well as what this means for both kids and adults, before finally considering some better play alternatives that encourage the safe and healthy development of our kids. Gender-specific toys continue to perpetuate harmful gender stereotypes on our children, and we cannot let it go on. In the end, the immediate solution to the issue of gender bias in toys is really just as simple as child's play.